So the Maple Society Award is after the namesake of Peter Gregory, who's was a good friend to many of us. And what this award embodies is somebody whose commitment to maples is really to promote maples. And this could be done through a number of different ways, but often it's done through service to the Maple Society, where people who have done a lot with the Maple Society or has done numerous things with the Maple Society. I feel really cool to be presenting this award that I've got here, because the 2020 award goes to my big brother, Matt Nichols. And Matt is a past president of the Maple Society. He was involved in organizing many different meetings. He had some really good ideas while he was on the board during Keith's presidency, but also while he was president, and he implemented many different things, some of which, one of the things he recommended was starting a Maple of the Year program, just like the Conference Society does, and some other fun things as well.
Facebook group?
Yeah, the Facebook group and a lot of other things to try to help promote the Maple Society as much as we can.
Thank you. So if I feel cool getting an award that I created, given to me by my little brother, I'll tell you that I do. And the reason why is because when we recommended the award, Sharon said we should name it after Peter Gregory. And that's really what I read on here that makes me, kind of get a little chills about it. If it was an award we created that didn't, but Peter meant a lot to us. He was a really fun guy, and I always had a kinship with him. He felt like an uncle we were visiting when we got to go see him. We got so excited. And, I remember staying with him in Westonburt, and we went and stayed at his house, and I slept in he had a little futon in his library, and I laid in there and I dreamed that maybe if I laid in there I could soak up all this stuff and all these books. And it was just a magical time, and because of that, because it's got Peter on it, I feel pretty cool even though I created the award getting it. But I'll tell you, I'd like to thank a few people. It feels silly to get any award that doesn't have this guy's name on it. So it's, my brother is equal in everything I've ever done in Maples to me, if not better. And I'd like to thank my dad. My dad started our nursery and was just, it was a hobby for him, but I'm glad he had that passion that we got to continue. My mom, our biggest fan. If you know my mom on Facebook, you probably see more of her posts than mine. She's proud of her boys. My wife, who's always my biggest supporter. We got back from our honeymoon, and she said, Tim's going to Japan next week. You need to go to Japan. So, she's always 100% in my corner. And, it's pretty cool. A few Maple Society people I'd like to thank. First off, I'd like to thank Elizabeth Mundy. Elizabeth was instrumental in helping our business start out. She was so helpful and always there. And one year we grafted 10,000 trees, and we had 800 take. And we're like, wow, we have failed. This is not working. And I was at a farmer's market in South Carolina, and I still have the card. A man wrote a name on a card. He said, call Franklin Byles. And the only thing he got right on that was the phone number. And we called Frank, and Frank said, well, you boys need to get your behinds over here to the Maple Society meeting. And it made a huge difference in our lives. And I'd like to thank Frank for that. You're a big part of this. You're a big part of our success. Just thank you for that. And thank you for all of you do, from talent, for being an inspiration to always do more cool things, and just all of y'all support. Y'all are a big part of our success.
Hey.
Yeah. And so I'm really honored I get to do two of these. Now, we had some time where we missed because of COVID, and one of the things about everything during those times is it was such challenging times. But one person who has made this Maple Society function for a very, very long time is our next award winner, the Peter Gregory Award. This is someone who's been serving for almost 12 years now on the executive board. when she took over the position of secretary, there was a lot that had to happen. From fixing our nonprofit status to beginning to actually keep records that were non-existent before, to really making sure that you get those newsletters every time that newsletter comes out. And Marielle is the 2021 Peter Gregory Award winner. And I know that she made mine and Matt's, when we were president, life a lot easier during those times. There's always someone that we could count on to make things happen.
It was a precursor to the job. It was like, are you going to stay on the board? Yes, then.
Thank you very much. I'm not going to have as big a speech as Matt did, but I have to say when I took this position in 2012, the person before me was John Kelly. And he came up to me and he said, and this was in Dallas, Texas. So he said to me, Marielle, I think you would be the perfect secretary. Would you want to take over? And my first reaction was, I don't know anything about maples. So he started laughing and said, you don't have to. You only have to keep the books. I was like, okay. So I told him that I would be happy to try that. So by now, this is my 12th year. And I have to say, Bart is the one who has the maples. And I've learned a lot over the years, but I've also enjoyed meeting so many wonderful people like all of you. I'm really a people person, so Bart always says that I talk too much, which I like to do. but I really enjoyed it, and I know sometimes it can be frustrating, but so I thank you very much for the award. I feel like I didn't deserve it, and Bill told me get over it. So anyway, thank you very much.
You've already heard a little bit about this person, and I can testify that for somebody who's done so much for the organization, also just for the plants. I mean, there's no question that his focus has always been really the plants. His donated plants for auction purposes, or if you ever live up in the Olympia area, you need to visit the local community college where you'll find practically an arboretum that was donated by our next award winner, Mr. Frank Byles.
Over the years, people have come up to me and I need to tell you about my two best proteges. They came up to me several years ago and they said, would you mind telling us a bit about your maples? And I said, well, sure. And these two young boys sat around while I told them, well, you take the seeds and you plant them, and you grow up these plants, and then you just graft on them, and then you get all these different varieties. And after a while, they said, we think we know what you've got. So they went back home. And a couple of years later, there was a convention near their place, and when they were serving lunch, I saw this woman coming at me. And she had her hands out like this, and she was just coming on. And I, well, am I going to duck, or what am I going to do? And she got a hold of me and gave me a great big hug and a kiss, and in my ear she says, I'm Tim and Matt's mother. That was all I needed for thanks, because they have made a great success out of the business. They've traveled around the world, and they have expanded the Maple Society. And this brings it back to some other young fellows, and even here, this meeting here, I've had a couple of young lads come up, say, how did you get to where you are? And back in 1963, I retired as a senior deputy insurance commissioner. And so I was home, and Judy says, well, you can take the boat and the camper out and you can do what you want as long as you're home to get my dinner. So I thought, well, you know, that's pretty good. Well, it wasn't but a few days after that, Howard Hughes, her father, sent out a catalog and said, I think this is my last catalog because I'm 91 and thinking on retiring. And no one consulted me or anything, and Judy says, oh, Daddy, you don't have to do that. Frank's not doing anything. And you can do what you want. He immediately goes back in the bedroom and self-taught on the computer and everything else, and he gets out another catalog. Forget the last catalog, I'm back in business. My son-in-law is going to do the work, and I can do what I want. Okay, I didn't even know how to grow corn. And what I'm saying is that how fabulous this organization is that I followed him around. Here he's 91, and he worked my tail off 16 hours a day. 7 days a week. Thank God he only lived for 7 more years. But he belonged to the Maple Society in Europe. And so I learned a little bit there. And along comes this meeting in Denver, Colorado in the mid-1960s, 90s, mid-90s. And I went down there, and then we had a nice meeting together, and then a few of us ended up in a, I thought, a BS session at the end. And out sprung this North American branch of the Maple Society. And Sue Wygrove was the first president, and a very attractive young lady and just full of energy. And she got a lot of things going and everything. Unfortunately, she's not around us anymore. But anyway, that got me started on that. And I came across another organization called IPPS. And if you don't belong, you should. International Plant Propagator Society. And their motto is to seek and to share. And believe me, nurserymen have had secrets of their own. They're secret growing things. And I could go on to any nursery, and as soon as I mentioned I was an IPPS member, it was open arms. And in the long time, in the beginning, callus tubes were a real deep, deep secret. You couldn't find out anything about callus tubes. And I walked onto several nurseries, and they'd say, oh, callus tubes, sure, come on back. And they'd show me everything they had on callus tubes, and how to work them, and how to do it, and everything else. And so what it was, is this organization has always welcomed all comers. Come on, I'll tell you what a maple is, how you get it, and what you do with it. And this is what every one of us in this room does. And we help everybody. We don't object to somebody coming on and getting information. And there's one gentleman here who's growing on the trees that are going to go on Judy and my grave. And he hasn't got them ready yet, but we're not ready to die yet. So anyway, this is how great this organization is, and I want to thank each and every one of you for making me what I am. Letting you know is I hope you'll all let people know that I would like to be able to fully retire, and I've got these beautiful trees I'd like to see go somewhere. Judy and I donated a copy of our collection to South Puget Sound Community College, which they've planted, I don't know, 500-600 of the varieties in 14 different beds around their campus. And Judy and I have donated over 400 trees to the University of Washington Arboretum, which has now allowed them to become the international repository for maples. And that's a pretty big accomplishment. And so Japanese maples are getting published around. So I just want to say that if you don't belong to the Maple Society, you don't belong anywhere. It's really good, and I want to thank you so very much. And for all of you, I really appreciate all the help you've done in making me what I am. Thank you.
So when we first got together, we talked about some goals. One of the first things we wanted to do actually was even just to have a mission statement, and I'm embarrassed to admit I can't recite it, but if you go to our website, you'll find it. Two other goals. One was get a website up, something I think we've been missing, and it was so interesting that everybody had an idea who might be able to take care of this, and when it really got down to it, the only person that really knew somebody who was available and ready to work was me. And the nice thing about it was the person I was able to put us in touch with is almost a neighbor. It's just about a 3-minute drive for me, or a 10-minute bike ride. And it's somebody that I've known personally for a long time and is just an absolute wonderful professional. And she had our website up in 3 weeks. And it's continued to move on from there. We have one of our partners as part of this is a company called Neon, who has our member database. It's what allows us to have members log in and sign on. You can join online now, which has made an incredible difference. Register for events like this online. Everything can now be done online. So one of our other goals was to increase our membership. Well, starting in February of 2021, we had about 120 members.
115.
15?
115. 115.
115, okay? So our goal was a 40% increase. And you think about that, it's a little over 40 members, maybe 45. Today we have 172.
75 right now.
Was it 3 more?
3 while we're here.
Oh, 3 while we're here. Oh, wow. So, and several of these have just found us on the web, you know, either through a Facebook group or just by searching and found the society and joined online. So our 3-year goal has been met in less than 2. And so that's really, you know, thanks to everybody who's contributed in so many ways. I mean, anybody who has just mentioned it to somebody, it's just been a really wonderful growth, and I'm so pleased with that, and thank you all for that. One of the other things that's helped, and one of the things that I've been wanting to focus on, is more fun in this organization, and that translates pretty much to doing more things locally. You know, we've just been an organization that has 1 annual conference, which is great. It's a wonderful opportunity to get together, to learn from professionals, to learn from friends and neighbors, but it's once a year. And who knows, it's on the other side of the country, so you know, it's not necessarily convenient. So I've been trying to get, well, we've kind of broken up on a model like the Conifer Society. We've made it regions of West, Central, Northeast, and Southeast. And the interesting thing is, our membership in this group almost reflects the percentages. To give you an idea, here, we have 40 people here right now. And I had that written down over here. Where'd you go? I have 2 pieces of paper available. No, it's not. There I go. Okay, 40 people. 22 of them are from the West. Farthest away. Imagine that. All right? We have 14 from the Southeast. We have 3 people from what I call the Central Region. In this case, I can tell you, they're from Illinois, Oklahoma, and Texas. And 1 person from the Northeast. Who was that? Was that? I don't even remember now. Was it Jay?
It should be on
Oh, it is. I'd have to run down here to find it. But that's pretty much the way our membership breaks out. So naturally, since it was easy for me and convenient, I found a few people that I knew were go-getters and were as enthusiastic about these as I am. And I'm going to introduce those two people right now. It's Dan Everts, well actually Dan and Jeannie both, and his wife, and Camille Paulson.
I didn't really allow my wife.
Okay, so come on, Camille. So the idea is these people working together have put on, I think we have had four programs just around our area, and not all of them just right in our backyard. We had a two-day event in Oregon, you know, and we put together, it was actually a joint event with the Conifer Society. But we had 3 gardens we visited down in Oregon over a weekend. The very first one we met at a local winery that happens to have a wonderful collection of about 50 extremely mature Japanese maples. We had, let's see, a small attendant event of one of our members who has a beautiful home right by Lake Washington with a great view. We called that one Maples and Meat. And then just for the flip side of it, at Bart and Marielle's, just a week ago, we met for Maples and Merlot. So, you know, next we've already got something planned for next spring, probably just after Mother's Day, that is starting to develop into possibly a 3-day event. These are the kinds of things that get members in. The first one we did, oh, you forgot that, actually the first one was at Dan Everett's home. We put on a pruning demonstration. We had 3 people join after that came, just as they were invited. We've now done also in the Southeast. Lynn and her husband have a couple of events now around your home. We had one now at Jen's place. And, you know, what is missing is our Northeast and Central areas. So I'm hoping that maybe I can encourage someone here to just take a little initiative and say, it doesn't have to be a big deal. This is about, you know, get a few friends together, a few people that you know have maybe a few maples of their own, just to talk about how much you enjoy them. Maybe have a bottle of wine around or a couple of glasses of beer. You know, it can be anything you want it to be. If you know somebody that wants to do a demonstration of some kind, whether it's a grafting demonstration or a pruning demonstration, or talk about other ways. I mean, I don't know the first thing about air layering, but it sure looks interesting to me. I think in areas where maybe you've got a little heat, people are doing rooted cuttings. Anything that can promote and add to the ways we enjoy these things. This is how each of you can make this organization better for you. And I am so enthusiastic about this, I'm going to tell you right now, I will travel. I'd love to have an excuse to go into New England. Right? I'd love to have an excuse to go into the Midwest. I don't care where. I mean, I'll be happy to work with you and talk with you about ways that you can do things like this. So you can find my email really easy if you go to the website, or you can probably even remember, president@maplesocietynorthamerica.org is one of the easiest ways to contact me. I hope that everyone here has noticed some of the things that are changing on the website. We've got it now so that if you go there and you just want to see who's a member or has a garden that maybe you can go visit, just log in and it'll say, what do you want to do? One of the pull-down menus says, members whose gardens are open for visit. That portal is going to improve over the next several months because Neon, who has the back for all that, has a brand new system in place that I just haven't had time to learn. But I say there are things like that on the website right now. You can see a total membership list. I have a feeling I forgot to make it public, but right now there's menu items for who's in the Northeast, who's in the Southeast, who's in the West, who's in Central. And I guarantee you, at least by the end of the week, that'll be available. And it might even be by tomorrow night. But these are all things that I want to make so that we can have more enjoyment out of it.